His mouth travels down to my neck, then my chest. His tongue dips down, and his hand massages one of my breasts. I feel the pressure building in my stomach, and it is pure bliss. I mean, that's some hot reading.
At just 30 years old, Anna Todd is on fire, creating one of the wildest erotica empires in the world.
Why are you so good at writing about sex?
I mean, I've been married since I was 18, so I can't be like, I have tons of experience. I think it's just me reading so many erotic novels.
Anna's After series, loosely based on her love for British pop band One Direction, has propelled the former Waffle House waitress into literary stardom.
New York Times best-selling author, 10 books published, 11 million copies sold worldwide. Your books are in 35 languages. You have a feature film. You're shooting your second feature film now. So what is it about After that made all these numbers possible?
I would love to know what it actually is, because then I would just do it again and again and again. But I think it was a mixture of different things. We were in this space where it was post 50 Shades, and it was hard to find stories that were different. And then it's the addiction. When I was writing it, it was like I literally couldn't stop, and I had to know what these characters were doing. So as a reader, I would imagine you feel that even stronger.
Like 50 Shades of Grey's E.L. James and The Kissing Booth's Beth Reekles, Anna is part of a growing movement of authors who self-published online first, before literary agents and movie studios came knocking.
It's weird because I don't feel like I sacrificed a year. I feel like I hit the freaking jackpot, and I like snuck in the back door. There's like this book tree that came directly from the book.
But she stepped in seamlessly as a screenwriter and producer on her second film adaptation, After We Collided.
I get here when the crew gets here. I go to hair and makeup first, check the looks for the day, check with wardrobe. Are we gonna get that product placement from so-and-so? How are we gonna shoot this scene?
She's the boss.
She really is everywhere around the clock, but in a really nice, supportive, reassuring way.
You're making sure that you're sticking to the story and the characters and the heart of the characters.
It's just so surreal. It's like the most basic word, but it's just the only word that describes it.
Another word might be remarkable. Anna grew up in a trailer home in Dayton, Ohio. Her father, a drug addict, was murdered before her first birthday, and her mom had to work long hours just to make ends meet.
And then coming home at night and not really having the bandwidth to be super present. I think that's where the book loving came from. And when my friends were wanting CDs, I'm like, okay, Mariah Carey's cool, but I want a book.
Was it an escape?
Yeah, definitely. And it's the only time where you can just shut off to live someone else's life.
She met her now husband in the 11th grade, graduated high school, and got married at 18, working minimum wage jobs while he served overseas in the Army.
I didn't grow up in a house where I was told to go to college. I was told to get a job and be able to pay your bills and take care of yourself.
By 2013, Anna wasn't just caring for herself.
My son was a baby. He wasn't mobile yet, and he has a lot of medical conditions. I was just home with him all day, but I still could read, and I was obsessed with romance, completely down a rabbit hole.
It was around that time she discovered a self-publishing app called Wattpad, where anyone could upload their own stories and receive instant feedback from readers who left comments.
I just was like, I'll just write a chapter. I'm bored, why not?
Where did you come up with the idea for this series?
I basically put everything I've ever loved, like Pride and Prejudice, Wuthering Heights, Vampire Diaries, even Cruel Intentions, 50 Shades, like everything, Twilight, everything I've loved. I just like dumped it in a bowl and stirred it basically. And I tried to find ways to make it almost even more intense.
Spicing things up with her obsession for One Direction, Anna typed out plot lines on her phone about bad boy sophomore Harry Styles and innocent college freshman Tessa Young's tumultuous whirlwind romance.
I'm done playing this game.
Readers would give her instant feedback, and she'd use those comments to guide her into the next chapter. It's part of a strategy called social writing.
It's fun to feel that live reaction and posting a chapter, and 10 minutes later you have 1,000 people telling you It's either the best or the worst, or you hate this or they love that.
So your fans are almost like your editors.
Yes, and they catch things like Tessa's car was white, then silver, then white. I'm like, oh yeah, that's wrong.
It really speaks to the way people communicate today, the way people find most of the things they like to read, the things they like to watch. It's all happening socially.
In just 1 year, Anna's post racked up almost 500 million views. And the girl with no previous ambitions of being a writer landed a 6-figure book deal.
You've created 700-page books, and there's multiple of these.
Yeah.
Why do you think teens and young adults are latching on?
I think it's because it's actually something that they can relate to. But I think in the US specifically, there's a really big disconnect between publishing houses and what actual youth wants.
Anna had to change the One Direction name, so Harry Styles became Hardin Scott. But otherwise, things remained the same.
Even after you got this big publishing deal, you still made sure that it was available on Wattpad for free for people.
Yes, and
Why
I
was
will
that
never
important?
take it down. I know how it is to not be able to buy a book. I have literally bought books, read them as fast as I can, and returned them. There's no price tag on me taking that down.
Everyone thought that was very risky. Well, it turns out a lot of the fans actually wanted to own the object. They were very invested in the story because they had seen it evolve online. I think it really opened the door for a lot of other Wattpad authors to get their own book deals and their own movie deals.
All right, going again, guys, going again.
But many have accused Anna of glorifying issues like alcoholism and domestic abuse.
Well, this is life. Not everybody has an amazing childhood, and not everybody had someone to look up to or to teach them the way.
And she says what some people call controversial sex scenes are important for young women to see.
I'm writing for the teenage girls who are like, oh, it's not weird for me to be curious about sex and want to talk about sex and want to have sex and initiate it.
And equally important, they're filmed from a woman's perspective.
Sexy to me is eye contact and fingers touching and breathing and those kinds of things.
Well, the way you're describing it, it almost is a woman creating a sex
Yes,
scene.
exactly.
For Anna, this total control of the scene is part of the future revolution in writing.
I also am very aware of the hundreds of thousands of writers who would kill to have a publishing deal. But this is where I want to take them and say you can do this on your own more than you think. It's my personal mission to be able to give a voice and be able to help people get published who would never be published.
For Nightline, I'm Maggie Rulli in Atlanta.